Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Going On Daily live morning show. We're going to wake you up.
Woohoo!
We're going to give you some information. But first, you want to know who we are? My name is Ira, and I am lucky enough to be paired with the lovely Lena Williams.
Hello, I'm Lena. How are you today? And Ira,
I love the
this is my
background.
partner that I haven't seen in a little bit. So it's nice to see you back.
Yeah, as we were discussing before we went live, yeah, 2 weeks ago I would have sounded like this on the on
Hmm.
the podcast, and that wouldn't have
Yeah.
been good. And last week was family emergency time, and I spent one day in the sun, one day,
Oh,
and I
boy.
got burnt to a crisp on my dome, and I'm still peeling. So
Sunscreen, man.
you people with your
Sunscreen.
hair, you have no idea how lucky you are.
Well, it still happens when you have hair, but still, yes, you got to get some
Yeah, I don't.
sunscreen. It
Wow.
doesn't take long around. Oh, I don't know where you're in New York, right? So it doesn't take that long, right?
Oh God, I burn like that.
Yeah.
They're gonna come out with a new crayon white called Ira. This is,
Yeah.
uh, but you're not here. You're here for the witty banter, but of course we have information for you. First piece of information is check out our social medias. Now you're watching some way. Let's see. I don't think I've ever had a burn. Ron, who is follically impaired like I am on the top,
Yeah.
how could you not get burnt? How could you? Well, you know what? If we go down that road, we're not going to get to any other stories.
So, yeah, I mean, I've burned, but it takes me a little longer, obviously. I'm a little bit more tan already, so
Yes, the
more
lucky one.
more melatonin in my skin, sort of thing. So,
There you go.
but
Yeah, I
anyway,
went out with my kid who just turns brown like that. Believe
yeah,
it or not. Okay, you're watching us somehow. Ooh, look on the bottom of the screen. Ron's got them set up. If you are on Facebook, it is at RI Broadcasting. If you're on YouTube, it's at spell it out Rhode Island Broadcasting. If you're on Twitch, it's at RI underscore broadcasting. So they're all different. And he doesn't have it there, but if TikTok, we're on TikTok also, you go to at RI broadcasting. And the
there it
big
is.
one, yeah, there we go. And the big one, of course, is Patreon at RI broadcasting because there we have merch. You can buy merch. You can support the show. You like listening to us, and you go, how can I help them get better? You can buy some mugs or some stickers or some pens, and that helps us.
Ira, where can I buy a "I spent a night out in the moonlight and I burned the top of my head" mug? Is that where I would get that?
Do you know how many things I have? I've been gifted mugs, T-shirts, uh, pens, everything that say bald guy on them. So yeah,
Yeah, okay,
I,
that's true.
in case anybody didn't notice, I'm aware. Yeah. So
You're part of the Larry David Club, man.
there you go. Uh, Now, let's see. It is Saturday, May 10th, and
It
here's
is.
what we want you to know. So, Lena, I believe you have the first story.
I do. Before we get started, I just wanted to say, it's Mother's Day tomorrow, so happy Mother's Day to the mothers out there. Um,
Yay!
yes. So make sure you go see your mom. So, yes, behind me in my little virtual picture here, you'll see something that looks like a grain. What they call them sometimes grain elevators, or uh,
Silo?
it's granary, but it's
Oh,
like for
granary.
what is it called? Threshing. Anyway, these are pretty Midwesty. Right now you can still see a lot of those in the Midwest, but they used to be everywhere. So I'm going to take you on a ride. Are you ready?
Ooh,
An
yes.
informational ride. Okay.
I like rides.
So you're familiar with the song Lagrange?
Yes.
Okay, that's a song by the American rock group ZZ Top. Would be coming from my generation, even probably think the Boomer generation. Off their album in 1973, Trace Hombres. Correct. It was one of the most successful songs released, in I think it topped the Billboard Hot 100, blah, blah, blah. But what it referred to was a brothel on the outskirts of LaGrange, Fayette County, Texas.
Oh, okay.
So we'll start with that. That's what they're talking about because some people didn't know what it meant, right?
I didn't.
And later that brothel was called the Chicken Ranch, so and probably a lot of people know that. And then
Hmm.
eventually it became a Broadway play, and it was called The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. So that's based on the Chicken Ranch in the same place that ZZ Top sang about,
Oh
right?
wow.
So that's all that, right? So then now we get into they actually went to LaGrange, Texas, and played at the Fayette County Fair on September 5th, 2015. So that's how long it
Awesome.
took for them to actually play the song about that area in that area, right? Then they had a documentary in 2020, and I think the song came back for a little bit. Anyway, Texas, Georgia, Illinois, Kentucky all have a township city by the name LaGrange.
Oh.
So for whatever reason, right, you start and you're going, well, why is this all over the place? So the name actually originates as a topographical French last name. You would think it was Texas or you would be Mexican for some reason, right? Like I always thought it had like maybe a Mexican descent, but I never really thought about it. Maybe because the
Right.
song sounds Tex-Mexy or whatever it is, just in
And by
my
the way,
head.
I'm playing it in my head right now as you
Yeah,
do
so
it.
it
So
just sort of I always thought of it as like southern border ish or for whatever reason. I knew
sounds
that it
it.
was Texas. So anyway, it's actually a French origination. Topographical, and it means that you live near a granary. So that's actually where
Huh.
that name is from. Like the people that have that as a last name, that's where it originated. You live near a granary, which is the storehouse for thresh grain. And right now, the U.S., South Africa, and France all have people with the last name in their family tree. And so, therefore, so many towns in the U.S. were then named LaGrange. I think for so how many people probably had that last name
Yeah.
or lived in that area with a huge granary. And that's just the granary things that I wanted to talk about today. So I
It's
don't know how
funny.
much. There's a lot of information there, so you just try to take it all in.
It is, and you should. It's one of those things that now I know that I'm going to end up bringing it up to somebody else
Yes,
later on.
I mean it's kind of cool. I don't know. I don't know. I just started to. I have these rabbit holes I go down where on one tiny little thing I'll be like, well, let me look that up. What is that about? And then I just go into this spiral. So that's all of the stuff that I researched this week, just because I thought it was fun.
Well, one of the things you brought up is that it's someone's last name, and I
Yep.
actually there was a football player who got hurt, and I believe his last name was Lagrange.
Hmm.
And I always think when I see a last name, usually somebody with a Smith at the end of it, Silversmith or
Yep.
something like that,
Yep.
people were named for the
What
job.
they did. Yes. Blacksmith,
So
uh,
right.
or whatever. I'm trying to think of something else, but yes. Uh,
So I every time I hear a name like that, I always try to put it together with what kind of job could that have possibly have
yeah,
been to
exactly.
do that? I wouldn't have thought that somebody would just name them. Okay, you work at the Grange.
Or you don't
You're
even. It's
Lagrange.
almost like you just live near one. Like the town is. It's everybody. It's so big that everybody they were like, "What are we gonna do?" So they just decided to use a last name based on living in the vicinity of one, because it doesn't even sound like they work there. It almost sounds like it's just local to them. So
I'd like
it's
to be
weird.
there. I'd like to be there at that meeting when they're sitting there going, okay, so we've all decided since we work at the Grange and we named this area the Grange that everybody who lives here is now last name LaGrange.
Right. It's
Everybody
just
okay?
it's so weird, right? But and I'm wondering, because it has French origin, was France where it began? And I think that's probably it, meaning that all of that started there and then people immigrated here and brought that name with them. So I'm wondering, because I don't think it was going on in the US. I think most of us get our stuff from outside. And it is also a college Ron was just mentioning.
There's a
That's
college
true.
called LaGrange or Grange.
I think well, let's find out from Ron, because that's
Yeah,
not something
Ron,
in
you
my
can look that up. We'll talk
yeah.
about it for a few more minutes.
Yep. But
But is it? I mean, are they? You said that the picture behind you. Do you know exactly where that one is from?
I do not actually. I think I just pulled like an AI picture just so you could see. I wasn't sure if Ron would be showing up with all those fancy graphics of his, and
It is
so
funny.
I wanted to put something behind me so that you could see what if you're driving through like Kansas, which you would be looking for, if you were going to see a granary, that would be kind of the idea. So
I think
yes,
that would be cool for people, for quote city folks like us. I'm surrounded by buildings
yeah.
constantly. It would be kind of cool to see something like that.
I
That's
uh
different.
I watch a lot of YouTube. I want it's probably like called boomer YouTube, right? Where like I like to sit around and watch people that have YouTube channels that literally do this. They just drive around the country and go into
Oh,
these
I
little
know.
back towns. They have their little GoPro or whatever it is, and they just kind of look at buildings and architecture and all kinds of stuff from the old time in the US
Amazing.
that like are sort of still sitting there and falling apart or whatever the origin of those things were. And I think that even may be where I got the beginnings of this information.
That's something I've
'Cause
always
yeah,
wanted to do. I've always wanted to like get in the RV and
yeah,
just go and look and see the redwoods of California and
yes,
see. I mean, the
absolutely.
Grand Canyon. Have you ever been to the Grand Canyon?
I have never been to the Grand Canyon. I think I've been over it.
It's
That's
it's
about it.
done that too. It's awe-inspiring and see all these things of nature. And again, like the silo, obviously not nature. It's man-made,
Right.
but to see
But
some of those
still,
amazing things.
it served a purpose, you know what I mean? And it's kind of cool. And Ron, where's this information? We're waiting for you to tell us, but
Yeah, we're still
I
waiting
can't
for
see
the
the comments.
college.
Is it LaGrange College or Grange? I think it is LaGrange, actually. This is just
Eh,
from my memory. That doesn't mean it's making any sense right now because I just woke up not long ago. But I can
it is
try to.
Saturday morning.
It is LaGrange. Okay. And
Okay, it's
where's that
LaGrange.
located, Ron? Is it
You're making
Texas?
Ron work.
Yeah,
That would make sense.
yeah.
LaGrange, where? I'm assuming, I would almost bet it would be LaGrange, Texas,
I think
but
so too. Um,
I don't know.
and I
Maybe
think
maybe they
that's all part of this, in the sense. But
absolutely. Hey, all those Grange
yeah,
people moved away. It is LaGrange, Texas.
yes,
Okay, so now we learned something.
yes.
And again, Ron went to the Redwoods. We learned that too.
I did not.
It's
I'm the only one
incredible.
here that didn't go to the Redwoods. I feel so left
No,
out.
no, I
That's okay.
want to go to the Redwoods.
Oh, you
I
want to go?
haven't been.
Oh, you
Yes.
haven't been. So Ron's been. Okay.
Yes. He could tell us all about it on a Ron's top five, his top five trees, maybe, that he saw in the Redwoods.
He probably will be doing that this week if you let him.
I'm sorry, people. I didn't mean to put it in his head, but
Now
hey,
there it is. Yes, see.
shots
Hmm.
fired. Here we go. I want to talk about something that most kids had growing up, or if you're lucky, you had this, that Gen Z, who are now the parents, the new generation, they have decided I'm not going to do this particular thing anymore. It's too boring for us, and what it's going to mean to the next generation.
Hmm.
Now, taking care of kids, and we were talking about them and how much they can be a pain in the ass sometimes. But it's usually you're waking them up, you're cleaning, you're feeding, daycare, school, you worry about after school. And then you come home and it's homework, food, bath. But usually the last thing, or at least what I did and what we saw in movies and TV and other generations, you read the kid a story
Mhm.
before they go to sleep. And what was that there for? It's designed to, spark imagination and to give them a love of reading. And it's
Yes.
all those things. But Gen Z parents have now decided it's boring. I don't want to read to my kid, and I'm not going to do it anymore. So,
Yeah. Well.
oh,
Okay. That fits in with Gen Z, but I'll stop there.
it kind of does. I mean, do you remember at all being, do you read to
I
before you were
was
going to sleep?
okay. So I'm a real avid reader. And my aunt also was. She read to
Lovely.
me when I was still in my mother's stomach. She's like read books to my mother's pregnant stomach, and then she read books to me all the time. I was always with her and my grandmother as well. Yeah, I was read to all the time and had books when I was really little. So I love it. You know, that's
Ron
where I got
says, I
the
got read the Riot Act a lot.
yeah. Well, I got that too. I got read the Riot Act a lot too.
That's
But
usually when you get a little older, though, Ron.
no, not well, unless you're in my house. You got it. Yeah, you got it right away. But yeah, I did. I mean, we were extremely like book intensive family. Oh, did Ira go missing? What happened? Oh, there you are.
Oh, my sound is.
Yeah, we lost you there for a minute.
Uh-oh.
Hey, New York, get your internet. Uh-oh, what, Ron? Okay, so it's just me. So we're right in the middle of a story that Ira's telling us. Oh,
There I
he's
am.
back.
Sorry
You,
about that.
no, that's okay. You're still frozen on the screen, but it's probably going to catch up.
Oh, it will catch up, but you can still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
So what this is going to do, and yeah, hopefully the video will catch up. Despite reading aloud to children is a proven way to boost their enjoyment of reading,
Hmm.
the number of parents reading aloud is at an all-time low. And what they're afraid of is now they've tested kids. A lot of kids get tested in what is it, the fourth and eighth grade. I forgot what those tests are called, but they pick those grades for a reason
I
to
know.
monitor the,
Man,
the
okay.
skills,
I'll think
the
about it.
reading skills.
Yeah. Um, I know what you mean. I know what you
Oh,
mean.
you do know. Okay.
I do. Standardized? They do
Standardized
system.
test.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. What do I have? They have it here as NAEP, National Assessment of Education Progress.
Right.
And they're showing that their basic reading skills they're not reaching those benchmarks.
Of course they're
And
not.
they're showing
Mhm.
that, well, what happened? Let's go back and find out what happened. And the parents they're not lying. They're at least saying, hey, I don't want to read to my kid. It's boring. And
Okay, well, we
so
gotta
this
pull
is
out
going to
old
happen.
Reading Rainbow videos right now. That's what
Oh
we
my
need to do.
God, can we do that?
You need to get Lamar out here because this is an emergency.
Oh my God, I remember that so much. We
Yes.
were always taught to read. Sesame Street and
Yes.
all those guys. They helped you to read. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
my parents would give me like, we're going to the store, and here's something you don't see all the time. Here's a list of written down objects that we have to get.
Yes.
Just parenting because they're too lazy. Thank you, Ron. You are absolutely right.
I agree.
And it says kids who read a lot are a lot happier. They're more physically active. I don't know why that has to do with it, but okay. And have more active imaginations and better problem solving skills than people who don't read.
So, I mean, studying the brain a lot, I can understand why, because the brain that develops the brain, especially at that age, right? Because your brain is growing at that age.
Yes.
So that gives your brain a huge boost of like growth and development at a specific age where it's does it the most good. So I could see why, like, I don't know about the physical, the as far as
Yeah.
like being active or athletic. I'm not, I mean, but I think probably that it's just, I think, I don't know, brain development. Well, let's just say that you're not stuck in front of something that's feeding you, spoon feeding you visual stuff.
Hmm.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
wondering now.
If you
Now
read,
that
you
you
can
said
take it
that.
with you. If you don't, you just won't participate in outdoor activities if you're just sitting in front of, something that's giving you visual, what have you, or audio, what have you. I guess I think that's maybe what it is. I don't know. Could be wrong.
We're
Just an
Gen
idea.
Z. I'm trying to go back. Were Gen Z the first generation that were parents gave them the phone and the tablet when they were like kids to
Yes,
keep
I
them
think so.
quiet? So
Yes,
that's
because
why.
yeah, I
That's
think
how they learn to self soothe.
yeah,
So it's like,
and
oh, it's good enough for my kid. Here,
I mean, you
have,
can't be physically active if you're sitting in front of some kind of screen. You
thank
can't do
you.
that.
So we're
So
finding holes in all their little problems, but it
right,
still goes back to the whole thing that ended life as we know it today. Thank you, Ron. You're pretty much on the button with that.
Ron is
The
on it.
more, yeah, the
Yeah,
more things. I mean, we always crave the electronic of, oh, what's new, and we're going to be able to do this and that. But you never think of what it's going to be taking away
right.
when you do that.
And when you
Uh,
put kids that are 9 years old in front of electronic devices, and you put kids in front of even stuff like the Teletubbies, and there was a point in time where my niece, I believe, my sister used to put her in front of that. There was a couple of those channels on cable where you would
mhm.
just see what was on TV. It was like the thing that would scroll,
Oh, the guide,
and it
yeah.
would have little things on top. My sister sometimes would put my niece in front of that just to keep her busy while she took a shower, and my niece would actually sit and watch it. I mean, it changes the development of your brain, I think, especially real young. to not have any kind of written word. It's a workout for your brain to read and to process words. It just
Absolutely.
is.
And again, they just don't see what it is. Ron brought up before that he has somebody who's 27 years old who plays video games 10 hours a day.
Hmm.
Now, unless that's going to be your career path,
Yes.
then that's going to be a problem. I mean, crack
Yes, it
open a
is.
book.
And it is not. I read several development books by Leonard Sachs and Richard
Hmm.
Reeves and people who are talking about what's the difference between children today and what it used to be. And
Right.
one of the things that Leonard Sachs said was that there were the children that are like sitting and watching video game material. Those children actually think, for some reason, maybe it's just their development at that time, that they can play those games. So they did a lot of studies of those kids, taking them right off of like your football, NFL stuff, throwing them out in the
Okay.
field, and saying, "Let's
Yeah.
let's get you in shape, and you would actually enjoy this if you were in it." And
Right.
those kids winning is, as much as it sounds stupid to sit in front of a TV and win games, they get that weird skewed result of like thinking that they would always win if they were on the field, and then they go out and of course fail miserably because they need to
Yep.
be in shape and all that. But just like what the reality to those kids is, just to get in their heads and find out what they think of the activity based on like just video game playing is ridiculous. Anyway,
Well, now
it's,
that you
it's
said that, I'm thinking when they win at a game, do they still get that dopamine hit that gives
I think
them,
they do.
that little high?
They do. It's a cheap
So,
one, obviously, because
yeah.
it's a different story. You're not getting trophies, and your body isn't, benefiting from the physical activity and the stuff that you otherwise would come with it. But you do get dopamine from it. And
So
kids
I
that don't
think
know better, well, how would they know? As far as they're concerned, they're fantastic. They could be NFL players tomorrow, as far as they're concerned, because they don't know the difference. It's just interesting.
oh,
It is.
which is why I find it interesting, and so did you, that
Yeah.
they are more physically active from reading. Maybe that's just it. And like, oh, I read something. Now I'm going to try to put it into practice.
Yes.
I've read about someone who was practiced all day and got good at some skill, so I'm going to do it
Right.
rather than no, I've got a controller in my hand and that's fine.
So that's a good point, Ron. I mean, is it the beginning of like the decline of longevity? You know what I mean?
Ooh,
Is that something that's gonna be a problem? Like, again, like I said, I read Leonard Sachs's book, and he's got books for parents, books about boys' development in their lives and girls' development in their lives, and what's going on environmentally and everything. Because he's a pediatrician, but he's also like a sociologist, so he kind of puts the two together, and there's some real interesting information in there. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Like I I don't understand why. I don't know. I was a kid that took books everywhere. Now, don't get me wrong. My parents would yell at me. My
for
mom would
bringing
yell at me. My
books,
aunt, because everywhere I went, I was an only child until I was 10, and then my sister was born. So I was around adults all the time. And at
right?
one point, I was either bored with what they were talking about because it wasn't exciting for me, or
Hmm.
because it was over my head. So I always brought books everywhere, like restaurants, everything, and just cracked books. Well, I was the best kid in the world to take on a road trip. I loved it because I would take 4 books
That's
with me, and
awesome.
you wouldn't hear nothing out of me. But eventually, I mean, I got yelled at for like not being social enough when I was around other people, because I would just
Yeah,
go in the corner and crack a book, and I didn't talk to people, and I would get in
right.
trouble for that. But that's the kind of kid I was. I mean, I had a dictionary when I was like 3 or 4. My mother found a
Oh
dictionary for
wow.
my yeah. It was a Charlie Brown dictionary, but for somebody my age, it made
Still,
sense, and I could flip through
right.
it and research it, and I'm still like that today. I think that's just it's a stunting. I think it's an atrophy of brain development. I just do. And if you have a problem with that, you can come talk to me. But I really
I
do believe
agree.
you shutting off a part of your brain that you should put a superhighway on it, and instead you're shutting it off and putting up
Instead, yeah,
roadblocks, and that's kind of how it looks in my head when I vision it. And
I agree with you 100%. And
society, you're gonna be a kid that leaves a house and like lives in the real world, and it's not gonna work well for you. It's just not. That's my rant for today.
I agree.
Sorry about that.
There's Not a word that I would have changed. I understood, exactly, and I agree with you. Good morning to you, Danny. Thank you.
Good morning, Danny.
We're going to move on from that subject, although I,
Yes.
I have a feeling we could talk about it for hours and
Yes.
still come up with
Oh, we could.
different viewpoints. But you have a story about, and I'm hoping this is what it's about. Equine candy, because to me that could mean something else, and I don't want to know. But
So what
go ahead.
I try to do, and I mentioned this last week, is every time I submit my stories to make sure that we have the graphics and all that in the group to the panel, to the administration within
Yep.
this podcast, I like to put in something that they won't be able to detect. Because what I want to do is I don't want somebody to be like researching a story that I'm going to talk about before I get to it.
Right.
And so I'm like, how can I put this so that nobody knows what I'm talking about? Okay. So it's probably going to be maybe more boring than you thought, but you understand that the popular chocolate bar Snickers, you've had one, you've seen them.
Love them.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Oh, don't ruin Snickers for me, please.
no, not at all, not at all. This is a history day today, so I'm going to be talking
Oh,
all about
okay.
history.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Snickers is presented or is put out by the Mars family, and I don't know if you're sure you
Right.
kind of
Yes.
know who the Mars family is. For those of you who don't know, the Mars family is an American dynasty. They're built upon the foundation of Mars Incorporated, right? They're a candy and pet food company at this point. But they go back to 1911. The very first, I believe, on registry person who opened that business would have been Franklin Clarence Mars,
Okay.
right? Their current net worth is estimated to be around 117 billion.
Oh,
But it's nice. They're one of the most wealthy families in America. So the company and the family, they have historically been known for pretty secrets. They've been secret. You really haven't heard about their private life, which I give
right.
them credit for, right? Especially with that much money. But the Snickers bar was actually named after a horse owned by the Mars family,
What?
which I didn't know. I thought that was interesting, right? And so they had this horse named Snickers in the 20s that they were
Oh,
very, very fond of, and they loved on their property. And he passed away. So in 1930, they introduced the Snickers bar in the United States. They were named after one of Frank Mars's favorite horses that passed. So that's what Snickers is. So
oh my
that's the
God.
name. And that's why when you say when you look at the name of Snickers and you just look at the kid, you're like, what the heck? It doesn't make
Right.
sense. Like it doesn't tell me what the bar does. It doesn't seem like it's associated. Well, that's why, right? So they were very passionate about horses. They kept many on their farm. They had a huge family farm, and the name Snickers was quirky and catchy and fit well with the brand's identity. So they decided to use it for this particular ingredients of nougat, caramel, peanuts, the milk chocolate, but mostly it's like a tribute. And so in
Huh.
some countries like the UK, the bar was originally sold under the name Marathon, which would also go with horses. Until 1990, and then at some point they rebranded it to Snickers to align with like the global brand of it. So the next time you bite into a Snickers, you're kind of honoring a horse from the 1920s. Just
Aw.
take that with you. So I thought that was it was a nice story, and obviously,
It is.
I didn't know that. I just never heard about it.
I
And
had done.
yeah.
We had done a story. Oh God, I can't even remember when. It was how candies were named, how
Oh,
particular ones,
yep.
and I never knew that one.
They didn't say
So
anything about that one, huh?
no, they didn't,
Wow.
which is
What the
kind of
heck?
funny. I mean, go back now. Why did they name the horse Snickers? I mean, when you hear Snicker, you think
Right.
of,
And like I think that's why I think that it just had to do with his personality. Could have very well have been the way that he whinnied or something like that. Or just had something to do with his personality. So like it's kind of cool to know that like these names come from somewhere. Shout out to Curtis Burrell who gave me that little tidbit, and I went researching from there. But yeah, that's a pretty cool. I just thought it was a pretty cool story, you
no,
know.
and I love the candy bar as well.
And I do too. I gotta say,
It's
it's pretty
funny.
good.
Did you see because it was just last week was the running of the Kentucky Derby?
Yeah, that's. I mean, it didn't fall in last week's. It would have been nice if I did this last week, right? But yes, we just had the Kentucky Derby.
Because I'm going to do a quick plug for the Circling the Train podcast, which is my podcast, and
Mhm.
Lena will do plugs at the end.
Yep.
but we actually found out Snickers is a pretty cool name, and it's very simple.
Hmm.
It's perfect. But now do you see the names of some of the horses?
I haven't
And
seen a ton of them. No, I wish I'd follow it more, but
you
what can I
haven't?
say?
Oh my God! Wait, if
No.
we have 1 second, I think I could still pull up, maybe, or maybe not. Nope, I don't have it. We
Uh-oh.
actually played a game, and it shows how much older we are getting now
Hmm.
in a way, because I would sit there and I would read a name and say, okay, is this a horse that ran in the Kentucky Derby
Hmm.
or a band that played in Coachella?
Right. Well, yeah, that's true.
Because
Okay.
they had what's the one I'm remembering? If I told you the name is of either the band or the horse is Shermanology.
With a CH?
Shermanology, the study of
Oh,
Shermans.
oh, Sherman. Oh, okay.
So does that sound like a band or a horse to you?
I know. Well, it doesn't sound like either one actually, but
It doesn't, and
it
it
almost
shouldn't.
sounds like yeah. It's I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know. Are we trying to be too complicated these days? I don't know.
I think we are.
It sounds
Like,
like a Harvard study or something. Really, is what it is.
because you said
Interesting.
something very simple before, and it made sense. I said, I wonder why they named the horse Snickers.
Yep.
And you just very simply said, maybe it's the way the horse whinnied. And
Yep.
that made perfect sense to me. I'm like, oh, that's how they named them now.
Yeah. Like I don't know. So yeah, that's I don't know. I actually haven't heard the list of names. I'll have to go check that out later because I'm sure it'll be quite amusing for me to
Oh, I
go
think
through
so
that. But
too.
yeah. So there you
Okay.
go.
We're going to move on now to another segment. What would you consider, Ron? I know you're there too, so both of you, and anybody in the chat.
Hmm.
What would you consider to be the toughest job in America? Now, that could mean anything. It could mean physically demanding. It could mean stressful. Whatever your criteria is. What do you
Okay.
think is the toughest job in America?
I think the Exxon Valdez would have been the toughest job in America.
Oh,
Like
that's
when it was in flames and people were trying to get off it, and then the water was on fire. Like that to me was
well.
like
I
would
mean,
be just no, no.
even when there wasn't, fire and
Right.
bad
Like
stuff happening there, that's
yeah.
still a pretty demanding job.
I mean,
So,
yes, definitely. Or either that or those that the movie The Thing that crazy Antarctic or like way substation in the middle of nowhere where you would just be
oh
stuck
God.
with, you know, four guys and like no food and it would be, 15 below zero or 100
Oh
below
God.
zero or whatever. But yeah, just like really rough physical conditions for me, that would be it.
I know Ron's going to put up a podcast producer. So,
Oh yeah, that's I gotta say that's pretty tough.
see, when Ira won't refresh, I refreshed. It's not working. You're fine right now.
Yeah, we're not. You are stuck on the screen. You are pretty
I'm
much.
stuck. I can
Yeah,
see it. Yeah, but you can
there isn't
hear
like
me, and that's
anything.
the important part.
Yes.
I would think now that you mentioned that, like, what was that TV show, Ice Road Truckers?
Yeah. Yes.
I'm
Oh my
thinking
goodness.
that's got to be rough.
Yeah. No,
Well,
it's crazy. I don't know.
oh my God.
It's exciting to watch, but I could never. I don't know. I can
There was a
never.
new survey out, and they sampled 2,000 Americans. What do they believe the toughest job is, or just what comes to mind when they think of a tough job? And like I said, everybody's criteria is a little bit different.
Is
But
it a list that Mike Rowe read off to anybody or no? You remember that
ooh,
show?
Mike Rowe should probably be on the list. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, 1 in 5 respondents emphasized that it would have to be something that requires grit in your daily responsibilities. You have to be tough.
Yeah.
So a lot of these are physically demanding jobs. Do you want to take a shot at anything that might be out of the top 20 here? And I'm going to give you, even though it
Bailing.
was the Exxon
Uh,
Valdez, I'm going to say number 10 was an oil worker. So
okay.
I'll go with marry that together.
I would say baling. Excuse me. Hay. Oh God, I can't talk today. Yes,
That's
baling
okay.
hay for like 20 hours a day or something is probably really bad.
Number 8, a farmer.
Yeah.
So there
That's
you
the part
go.
of the job that sucks. That like you get to feed the animals and you get to muck the stalls, and that's kind of okay.
Mhm.
But the hay baling is off the charts.
Have you ever done that?
I've never done it, but I have friends that have done it, and it's no joke from what I understand. And I don't want to try. I don't need
Oh,
to
wow.
know. Yeah.
Well, we're going to start off. You tell me if you think it should be on the list or not.
Okay.
Let's go that way. Number 20 is doing drywall, a drywall installer.
Okay. So I don't know. I was gonna bring up Ron mentioned roofing. I was gonna bring that up too because on a 110-degree day in like
Hmm.
New Mexico, that's got to be ridiculous.
And that made it to number 12, by the way. Roofer, very good, Ron.
So I would say drywall is probably just. I don't know if it's terrible, except it's just. I think it's just probably one of the most boring jobs. Like I think mentally you would go insane if you did that
Yeah.
all the time. So maybe that's it. But yeah.
Well, you are inside, and chances are you're putting up, a place that isn't put together yet, so there's no
Yeah.
air conditioning and
Yes.
ventilation is bad. So
No
maybe that.
electricity. No. Not. Yeah. Yep.
Which goes along with number 19, which is a carpenter, which is sort of same thing. I
Yep.
mean, you're inside, you're working hard. I'll give you that. Ron guessed police. Police was number 5, and he just hit number 1. According to this, toughest jobs in America, firefighter is the
Mhm.
number 1 hardest job. But they also have, let's go through the others on the list.
Okay.
A lawyer. Is a lawyer the toughest job?
I don't. I guess it depends. Are you a public defender, or are you doing pro bono? Like I think it depends on what kind of a lawyer, because some of it probably does suck, especially if you're defending somebody who's guilty.
Looking for loopholes and creating
I mean,
loopholes in
plus
the
just
law.
sitting and looking through so much, just like statute and information, and like
Oh my God.
looking at all these little sub categories of like, and each and every state has a different like book like this
Hmm.
that you have to. So probably it's tedious.
I'll give you that. Which leads us
Mhm.
to number 17, teacher.
Yeah, I would say teacher. I would definitely say teacher because kids are thankless.
Yep.
There's no money in it. It depends on where you teach. Sometimes you don't get supplies. You don't get a lot of respect. I don't think you should. I think you should be paid more, and I think you should be getting more respect as a teacher. And
And there's
kids are tough. And these days, like they're leaving smartphones right in kids' hands in school. I don't know how they do it.
oh,
I don't know
and
how they
there's
pay
only so
attention.
much discipline you can give
Yeah,
somebody else's kid.
right.
Number
Yeah.
16 is a pilot.
Well, right now that's got to be a really bad job. There was a point in time where they were back to back to back shifts on pilots, and they weren't getting
Oh
any
yeah,
sleep, right? And that was causing issues. So I could see that if
they
there's
did
a
that with
shortage.
truckers.
Yep,
Ron, prison
that's
guard
another
is
one.
not on the list. Sorry.
Hmm.
15, engineer. It's a
Okay,
hard job,
what kind of
but
engineer? There's so many.
yeah, it just says engineer.
Hmm.
That's
mean,
too vague. I think, yeah.
Yeah, that could be anything. I have friends in IT that are engineers. I know people who are in auto that are engineers. Like it could be an
I used to work
architectural
with
engineer.
chemical engineers. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So okay.
number 14, home builder. Isn't that sort of the same,
Carpenter and drywall.
Yeah. So I don't see that one.
It sounds like an architect in a way, but I don't know.
Exactly. I've got my own problem with architects who I used to deal with. I don't want to anymore. Okay. Number 13, electrician.
Yeah, okay.
My nephew's an electrician. He tells me some horror stories. So, yeah, there is a bit of
Well, I have
danger in there.
not personally, but I dated somebody for years that was a master electrician, and I heard some of the stuff that went on. Like one guy that got just blitzed in a cherry picker, and another guy that you go out down underground and you're doing stuff under there, and something comes through and jolts you. You got to really be careful, especially up around those high. Those guys that do lineman work, I can't even.
Oh my
how
God.
they do that. That's
Yeah, it couldn't pay me enough.
The worst. That's the worst. But it's probably so. I mean, the pay's good, but you're killing yourself every day.
They said if you want a job that pays really well and you don't even have to do a lot of work, changing the light bulbs on bridges. I mean, going to the top. It's an actual job, but
I that'd
I
be
ain't
kind of
doing it.
cool because I actually
Cool.
kind of like heights, so I would probably think that would be cool. It would just be a matter of like weather conditions. That would be the worst.
Well, then you could take Ron's job before, which was the skyscraper window washer. That would take a
Yeah.
lot of nerve.
Yep. I think that'd be
Let's
cool as
see.
long as I didn't fall.
Yeah. Number 12 was roofer. We covered. Number 11, which is a really tough job, is nurse.
Yeah.
You
I
almost have to know as much as the doctor. You have to
Yep.
be more aware because you're with the patient.
Yep.
It's grueling.
And I also have heard. I mean, bodily function wise, there's just nothing you have not seen or
Oh.
done, and that's the stuff I don't think I could handle.
I wonder if nurses make better parents because they have seen everything.
I have one story. No, it's not. It's real quick. I had a friend who was a nurse,
Good.
and what
Yeah.
she did was, she actually was able to treat enough that she dropped her and her child's health insurance and banked all that money. Like she kind of did something where she was kind of like I could take care of just about most things with the exception of like
Oh,
diseases and
wow.
broken bones. But a lot of
Yeah.
the stuff that she would normally take her kids to an emergency room for, she could take care of at home. And so she did something where she like gutted out her insurance policies and took that money out of her check and put it in a bank and invested it in something else because she's like, I can deal with this. We don't need. So I thought that was interesting. She got away with like dropping quite a bit off her policy
Ooh,
because of that. So I thought
that's
that
betting
was
on yourself because
it is, but she was like, hey, I can take care of my kid. I can take care of myself with the usual stuff, like the usual emergency stuff that, not emergency, but like the my kid's got a cough. Oh my kid, just stuff that you would go to an ER for because you just don't know what's
right.
going on. She kind of knew that stuff. So
Huh.
anyway,
I wish I had that knowledge, but
I know,
I
me
don't.
too.
10 was an oil worker, which we covered. 9, we air traffic controller. And in this
Oh
day
yeah,
and age, oh
yes.
my God.
Right now,
Have you ever
plus
seen oh
yes.
God, I forgot the movie where they about air traffic controllers, John Cusack, where
Oh
they
my
actually
god.
show you how like I mean, because you think, oh, big deal. I just have to, know where the planes are and keep them apart. And it is the most stressful job you're ever going to take, from what I've heard.
I don't know that they get paid. Do they get paid very well either? I
They
don't
get
think
paid
they.
well. They
Oh, they
do.
do.
Yeah.
I feel bad because they're out there, like in the middle of the night. They're out there
Yep.
in 15 below degree weather in Wisconsin. They're out there in Vegas on in August. Like they're just that kind of stuff. I think would is you got to be tough to do all that. But
Number 8 we covered was farmer. Number 7, astronaut. Now, if Katy Perry can do it, how hard could it be?
well, uh, what was the chick that I can't remember the name of the chick that ended up winning some kind of an award and then went crazy and was wearing astronaut diapers.
Oh, she
Wearing
wore a diaper and drove across Houston.
Kim, I forget her name.
Oh, I remember that
Yes.
story.
I
She
think it
went
was one of
crazy.
yes, over some guy. It was something where she just put these diapers on. She didn't have to worry about going to the bathroom for 2 days, so she could chase some guy down. That she was. It was she stalked some dude or whatever. But I forget her last name. Somebody will probably remember it. But yeah, I think it's probably tough because in my opinion, from what I've seen, like you could just from Challenger to some of the stuff that happened with John Glenn, you could
Hmm.
just not make it. You could not even make it out of the atmosphere. Everybody down
Oh,
on the
look.
ground has got to make sure all your temperature stuff's right. Like that would
Yep.
make, and you're such. I can't imagine being in such close quarters if you're going out there for like a week and you're just like out there in this little capsule. I can't imagine just being like out. It would be like being in the middle of the ocean, like way, way down the bottom of the ocean, like a submarine.
Yeah.
In
How
a sense
about
that
the?
you can't. There's no way out. Like you're just. You know what I mean? Like the end of the world is right outside the window. That would just freak me out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the two. By the way, good morning, Becky.
Oh, look at the
Uh,
graphics. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Hey, Becky.
what about the two astronauts who were up there? They were supposed to be up there for like a week, and then they were there for 6 months.
Right.
I would
Like
have lost my mind.
that's the kind of stuff. Just like same thing with submarine. Like let's just not mess with
Yes.
space and let's just not mess with thousands of feet below, sea level. Let's just not go there.
Oh, I
I
agree with you.
understand we want to know what's going on, but there's got to be a limit. And I can't. The
Absolutely.
pressure of both of those, honestly, the pressure outside the cabin from for both of those conditions is like it's just would obliterate you. And so I'm not sure why we would want to do that. But anyway.
Well, that's why there are just so few candidates who can actually do all those.
Oof.
We're going over the toughest jobs, the top list.
Oh, I got one.
Go ahead.
Is any of these underwater welding?
No, but that would be. Oh my
Because
God.
I know people that I've heard of several people that I know people that have died from that. Like it's serious a thing. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's something that, but that's something that would be. A lot of people probably wouldn't even come to their mind right away.
Right, that's true.
Like we said, changing the light bulbs on the bridge. That's
right. Like that's I only know that from like a weird. Yeah, so I guess most people wouldn't think of that.
Number 6 is an EMT or a paramedic.
Fair.
Got to be able to, like a trauma
Absolutely
doctor.
fair.
Be able to do that
and
right
some
there.
of the stuff you've seen. I'm in West Warwick, so Ron will know what I'm talking about. But we had the station fire in 2003, and I have some guys that I'm friends with that were involved in that, and they still will not talk to this day about the stuff they saw.
Oh my God!
They just had nightmares for months over that kind of stuff. So, yeah,
number
awful.
5, and in the same vein as what you were saying, things they won't talk about: police officers.
Right.
No matter what your opinion, good or bad, still, I think walking up on somebody, no matter who it is, you have no idea what's going to happen next and how you're going to react.
So you don't, but I don't. So township. This is I have several friends that are trying to be cops who are cops.
Okay.
So it's like every other group where there's always bad apples.
Yes.
So that's like I don't can't say I believe in the thin blue line in the sense that I think that if you know that you have cops on your team that are corrupt and stuff like that, and you protect them, you're just as bad.
I agree.
But that's the way it's always been in that field. However, I have a couple friends. I have one friend specifically who's trying to get a job as a cop right now, and the money is ridiculous. They don't train you very long, and they don't pay you very well, especially for the places that you would really think you would need the most training and money, because it's the city that's paying the wages. So if you go into, I'm trying to think of a place like, let's say, not Dedham, Mass, like Dorchester, Mass. Let's say something like that. You want to be a cop there, or New Bedford, Massachusetts. I mean, these guys get paid $20 an hour for rookies, and they're getting the training that they can get is based on how much money the budget, shakes out from.
Oh man.
So it's like, but if you move to a really high end, like if you move to Provincetown,
right,
or Yarmouth, I mean, you could be getting paid, $80,000-$90,000 a year, and you don't have to actually do anything. So the training's great, the money's great, but like there's no crime. That's what I think is happening with cops. I read an article about a Los Angeles
win-win.
Yeah, a precinct in Los Angeles, and the worst part of Los Angeles, and how they have to, they can only go with the money that they're given to pay people. And so that's why you get the people that sign up, let's be honest, right? Can't always be the best quality, because who would volunteer for a $20 an hour job in Los Angeles, in the worst part of Los Angeles or Oakland of California, that kind of thing, and also not be trained well. So you're gonna, I personally, I'm just gonna think you're gonna have
a problem. There for the power,
right? And but is that so, Becky? Like here, it's all depending on the district. Like, so I wonder in Canada if it's like a federal thing or not. Because these guys don't start like that.
I was going to say, when you said $20 an hour, I'm thinking, oh wow, I'm in Long Island, New York, and they definitely get more than that.
Yeah, like I was surprised by friends of mine that, like I said, I have a friend who's been working for the sheriff's office and all kinds of stuff for years, trying to just get a one job, because he's been working 3 trying to make money. And so like that's crazy to me. It sounds like a more like apprenticeship, which it should be, because this is something where you need to be always learning from people that have been there longer than you. You should be getting paid well enough to live. And so that's the problem that I'm finding in this business from people that are telling me about it, is that like the places that you would be the most at risk as a cop are the places where you make the least amount of money. and you get the least amount of training. That to me just makes no sense.
It's kind of
So
interesting that what you
yeah,
said, that there are jobs where it is mandatory to keep learning. When you're
yes,
a doctor, there are new procedures. Even when you're in real estate, you have to learn new things. I wonder if being a police officer is okay, we have new techniques and new
yes,
classes, and everybody has to go.
right.
Yes, as Ron is reminding us that Becky was talking in Canada, is he talking about what a Mountie makes or what a
Right.
cop makes? And yes, there is a difference between the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and
Yep.
cops. Okay, let's go on with the list and finish it off real quick.
Sorry.
Number 4 is doctor, which I think probably,
Oh yeah.
it's depending upon what you're doing. If you're
Yes.
in a hospital, an emergency room versus private practice, probably different. The
And
Mounties
yep.
are Royal Canadian Mounted Police, but she's going to look it up for us.
Okay.
Number 3, military.
I would say yes, and I'm a military kid. I can't uh having nothing to do with whatever administration we're in. I cannot stand disrespect of military, and when I see it, I get all upset. Because my mom and dad were military. They get sent away very young. They don't make a lot of
Mm-hmm.
money. They don't see their families. They could. There was a point in time where they were drafted. They didn't have a choice. And then when they come back, honestly, I think there's horrible services in place for people who have been in the military. Don't get me
I would
wrong. There's
agree.
some things that they have as pluses. Some of their healthcare is better, and some of their housing is better, but it has to be. But I just think we could do better, at least in the U.S. As far as people that have served their country. I just think so, and so
Actually,
I think it's
now
thankless
that you said
sometimes.
that, now that you said that, I think it should be number 1
Yeah,
because I mean, as we
your whole
already
life
know,
is over when you go. You don't.
yeah,
That's it. You know.
because Ron picked and he was right. They said firefighter was number 1, and firefighter, yeah, you are. And don't get me wrong,
Hmm.
it should be number 2 on the list for me. It is your life is on the line. You don't know what's going to happen. You are sleeping at the fire station,
Hmm.
3 4 nights a week.
Yep.
On and off. But military, like you said, you're not at home for months,
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Your life is in danger, probably just as much, if not more.
Right.
So I would put that number 1. So we had military at 3, firefighter at 1, and
That's
number
true.
2, construction worker.
Okay. Well, so now, when you were talking about construction earlier, I was thinking
Yeah.
about those guys that go into like cities like Miami, and they work on these 113-story buildings. And before those
Yep.
buildings get wired or walled in, how easy it is to fall from the 80th floor and all that stuff that OSHA has to get in there involved in, which I think might have just been, I don't know how much OSHA's even operating right now, but stuff like that where just somebody could fall from a really high, like all of these girders and beams and all these like high levels of altitude that these people have to be in with these cranes and like all that kind of stuff. That I would say in that sense for construction is pretty dangerous, but
Yep.
it all depends on what it is, obviously. But yeah, or these machines that could just crush you, or you could not block a gear up and one of those
Oh,
caterpillars takes you
absolutely.
out or something like that.
But
I
I
also
think
wouldn't.
a lot of the times, though, isn't
Right.
that what? And by the way, Becky's giving us information about training, and apparently, Royal Canadian Mounted Police can start at 71,000. There's a
Hmm.
recruitment allowance, so it sounds like it's a pretty good deal. But going
Yeah.
back to construction, you really do have to be knowledgeable. It's
Right.
it's
You have to know,
it's
load
not.
balancing, and if
Yes.
anybody is got 5 minutes to kill, go look up the Hard Rock monstrosity that went up in New Orleans and see how they dealt with that.
Oh God,
I don't know if you remember that, but it
I
was,
do.
yeah,
I
that
do.
that thing just came down. Like
Hey,
they just cheap they did some cheap they changed I think they changed construction companies a couple of times, and they started using some really cheap rebar, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, these
cut
people really
corners
need to know what
and
they're doing.
boom.
And New Orleans didn't have they didn't go in there and inspect that correctly. Like when you have a bunch of different things that fall through the wayside and people that drop the ball in different, more than one place like that. I mean, I think that's a slab of, I just think I believe they just, that's just like They took that all out, like it's completely cleared land right now. It's just a corner with nothing on it because I mean it got out of control. Anyway, that
So it
kind of
is
stuff.
weird that
Yeah.
a lot of danger in the construction area is based off of other people. Like you said, if they get you shoddy equipment,
Yep.
cutting corners from the architect or whoever,
Yep.
you're screwed. So
So
let
when you
us know what
see,
you think.
yeah, I'm sorry, I was gonna say when you see, as a building's going up in your area wherever you live, if you see a news report that says a bunch of people in this particular contracting company won't show up to work anymore, that's why.
Mhm.
Because they're like, I'm not gonna get killed over this. Like I don't make enough money for
Absolutely.
this. But anyway, so some construction is really shoddy and risky. But yes, I understand.
Yep.
Oh,
So now
I'm
we're
so
going to
sorry.
move on from something tough to hopefully something good. And you're going to
Yes.
tell us about Michigan.
I'm going to tell you about Michigan. And again, here's another one. I gave you a title that I didn't want you to really understand.
Uh-oh, we're being
But it
tricked.
does make sense. It involves the word hello and it involves the name Michigan.
Okay.
So we're going to start with Warner Brothers cartoons. And we're going to go back to the old Saturday morning cartoons we used to watch. And at one time, there was a little singing frog. Do you remember
I
his
love
name?
him. Michigan
So,
J. Frog.
he was Michigan J. Frog. That was his name, right?
Yes.
He was a singing and dancing amphibian from the Warner Brothers cartoon One Froggy Evening, and that premiered in 1955. The reason I thought it was interesting, I saw a little teeny video on this, but the reason I thought it was fascinating was because I watched this as a kid, and it was one little short. I think it might have been 5 minutes, if that.
Yes.
And for some reason, it's a ridiculously popular frog. But like when you think about it, like, you know, Mel Blanc wasn't involved with it. Like he wasn't even part of that. It was just like a little thing they did that was a side short. And it
Yep.
wasn't even really, so it's like kind of funny that it became so popular when Bugs Bunny was like always on, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So Chuck Jones is who actually created him. And he eventually named him Michigan J. Frog after the song Michigan Rag. And Michigan Rag is one of those songs that you hear in the short, but it was created for that piece. And William Roberts is the guy that did the singing. He was like a kind of a very classically trained opera guy. If you didn't know who was doing the actual singing for the frog, it was William Roberts, right? Anyway, while eventually they removed him. I know when I was a kid, I saw him a lot, and I don't remember when they stopped because I think I was old enough that I didn't watch it anymore by that time. So there's a point in time where they said, "Oh, we're moving towards a more adult WB, blah blah blah. We're not doing."
Yeah.
And even in that cartoon, there's a point in time where like this dude's trying to get a bunch of people to go into a theater and see the frog, and he puts up a sign that says "free beer."
Yes.
And they actually took that out at one point because they thought that it was a problem where adults and kids, like they were trying to cross the line. But I don't know. When I was a kid, I never took it that way. I never saw it as like, oh, I should go drink beer because I saw that. But they took it the wrong way. Anyway, so they said at one point that they were going to move towards a more adult-oriented content, and they took him off of the roster. We think, or there was a rumor that it was abandoned due to a connection to historical minstrelsy, because a lot of the stuff that this little frog sings is kind of Tin Pan Alley stuff, and some of that.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime. Yeah.
Some of that borderline into racist depictions of African Americans through blackface, which makes sense. All right, so "Hello, My Baby," which you just sang, that's a Tin Pan Alley song, right? Written in 1899.
Oh, wow.
By Joseph Howard and Ida Emerson, but they were like the team known as Howard and Emerson. Okay. But that song was poking fun at the word hello.
Huh.
So basically, it was just a song that was just literally a spoof on the word hello, because hello was never a greeting that was standard before 1876. Do you know why?
No.
Okay, so in 1876, Alexander Graham Bell patented the telephone.
Right.
And between him and Thomas Edison, they went back and forth about greetings. But previous to the telephone being popular, hello was not a standard greeting. It just wasn't what people said, right?
Yeah. Well, what did you see when you would say "Good day, sir"? I mean, I'm thinking of like
Good morning, good
1800s?
evening. Hello had a different meaning. It kind of meant the element of surprise almost. Oh, hello. What are
Okay.
you doing here today? Like it wasn't a greeting in itself.
Huh.
So I guess Alexander Graham Bell wanted to use, well, hey, what do we set? It's like, think about this. We've been using telephones for years and we don't even use them anymore like we used to. But at one point,
Right.
telephone was like this huge new technology that nobody had heard of, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so uh, AGB is sitting around trying to figure out how do we should introduce each other on the phone somehow when we start a
Right.
transmission. So he thought ahoy would be okay.
I've heard that. Yes.
Yep. And then Thomas Edison, who I have my reservations about for different reasons, decided, no, I think hello works. And they both decided to try it, but they didn't think it was going to go anywhere. And it turned out to be just like a standard greeting that we all now use.
Wow.
That like people now get mad at you if you don't say hello, but technically it really wasn't like always in standard form something that we use to greet other people. So I thought all of that was interesting, starting with the
It
frog,
is.
going back to the telephone, and that everything else that we use now, like in language, could totally have been not something that was not happening very recently. And as far as I'm concerned, that's kind of a lot more recent than I thought. Always thought hello was just part of a
Right.
regular conversation.
You would have thought that, but a word has to come from somewhere,
It
and
does. So I
and
just thought that
again,
was fascinating. And just like when do you remember the old trucker convoy thing that went on for a little while? And over being something that had to be said because you had to let the other person know that they could speak. And so when you have telephone language and you're trying to figure out, okay, I need to let somebody know this transmission has begun and I've started to talk. Or to signal to somebody on the other end that you're trying to get a message across. At that time,
yeah.
think about how like elementary that was, that somebody would just need to have like a beginning word for people to start listening. So I thought
think
that was
I
really
want to
cool.
end phone calls that way now. Instead of saying
Over.
goodbye, I just want it over.
Yeah.
Done.
Except over means you talk. So that doesn't, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. But yeah, this was a huge rabbit hole I went down this week. And I was like, oh my God, it's actually got so much information to it. Like, I don't know if it's going to be like too long, but I just thought that was all really interesting. So,
No, I loved it.
so that's it.
And
That song, Hello, My Baby, Hello, My Honey, that's a song when you listen to the words, it's Send Me a Kiss by Wire, right? Baby,
yep,
my heart's on fire. And then it's If you refuse me, honey, you lose
honey,
me,
you'll lose me.
and you'll be left alone. Telephone and tell me I'm your own. That's all based on a telephone being invented. So I thought that was cool.
And I only know that song because of Michigan J. Frog.
Yes. And that's it. So that's why I say hello, Michigan, because hello is, I don't know. It's just
Oh
kind
my
of,
God, you tied Michigan J. Frog into
I
the
did.
invention of the phone.
And
I
I love
love it.
Michigan Day Frog. When it was invented, I guess he didn't have a name, I guess, for a little while.
No,
And then Chuck decided, let's call him Michigan J. Frog. And I think that's still the cutest name ever.
I do love that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're running along, but I do have one more story.
Okay.
Uh,
We are.
Now, like you said, everything comes from somewhere, right?
Yes. Yes.
There is a lot of studies that we talked about social media earlier that
Mm-hmm.
it's making us more lonely. Instead of bringing us together, we're actually more lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a massive demand now in Australia for what is being called a practice girlfriend. Now, let's not go into the gutter. We're not
Mm-mm.
thinking, oh, hey, he picks up a hooker. No.
Excuse me. I don't go into the gutter. I don't know what you're
Oh, well, pardon me. You are a classy lady. I know that.
I present as such. I try to be one on
You
TV.
do. But since there is such a demand,
Mm-hmm.
there is now a company where you can hire a woman, but it's again not for sex, and it's said over and over and over in the article from the women. They're like trying to make sure this is not what you think it is.
This is
This
companionship.
is you don't understand how to get a date anymore. You don't understand how to
Yes.
act on a date anymore. You've been on dates and you can't get a second date. You're being ghosted.
Yes.
So they wanted to find out that this demand, it's become a big business. But there are critics who are out there saying you're exploiting vulnerable people. You're just taking advantage of them. They're lonely. They're paying, and how can they think this is going to help them when that person is there just to pay them? What do you
Well,
think?
listen, has anybody who ever walked into a strip club? There's guys in there that think those women like them. So,
Yeah. Oh my
when I
God,
say
you're
I'm
right.
classy and I try to be that way on TV, anybody that knows me very well is laughing hysterically. I'm not even close to classy. At times, I can because of my background, but like
Oh,
it's
we have to go into that one day.
yes, someday we'll have to do that. But yeah, well, we do. There's supposed to be a loneliness epidemic. I will tell you that because of the pandemic, and I did a whole podcast on this, and I'll talk about that later.
And give the
Because
name
of
of
the
the podcast
pandemic
now.
and because of social media and because of OnlyFans, not that we're going
Hmm.
down that road, but it does exist.
Yep.
There are several men out there that are really, really rusty, if not completely clueless about how to like even approach the opposite sex anymore. Like they just don't have any idea what to do. So I completely understand that would be a thing where somebody would need to get put through the paces of like an actual date to understand anything about why you should be doing this or that. Um, Guys are very lately. Everybody that I know that's dating that's single can tell you it is a kind of a crapshoot out there.
Yep. I'm one of them. I can
Yeah,
tell
I
you.
was going to say something worse. I don't know how much I could swear here, so I won't. But
You can.
it's a shit show. It is a shit
There
show
you go. Perfect.
because there's a lot of instant gratification involved in the conversations, and there's no I want to get to know you. Like it's not happening. Guys
Yeah.
are trying to order people like they're ordering McDonald's. It's just like the way they're dealing with it. There's the social skills are gone. So I can see this business making sense, and I'll be
Well,
surprised that the U.S. doesn't do this. I don't know why it's
oh,
just
I'd be
Australia.
amazed.
Yeah.
There was a filmmaker, and he wanted to show people what it was about. He hired two girlfriends
Mhm.
for a date in the park. It says he has to pay for everything on the date, which is
Okay.
fine. I mean, that's how it should be. Include for everything while they were on the date, including their company. He
Okay.
said things started out awkwardly, but they warmed up when he pulled out his secret weapon, a puppy. He had rented a puppy,
Yeah. Well,
which, you know what? Not a bad idea.
listen. I mean, if you can leave the puppy and just go.
No, my dog stays
That's
with
a good way
me.
to distract you from the guy, but that's another story. But it, I mean,
But
it'll put her in a good mood. It creates a dopamine rush.
it does. And while
But
you're petting the puppy, you can talk about other things. Becky says, I was on
yeah,
Tinder and Bumble for a couple of years. What a pile of garbage that was. Yeah, there
yeah.
we
I
go.
mean, it's so much, Becky. It is so much worse. Like I follow it just because I like sociology wise. I'm interested in what's happening. You know.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm single, but like I'm more interested in like the 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 slope of the progress of or whatever is happening out there.
I
And
agree with you.
it's really bad right now. It's just really bad right now. But anyway, yeah, a puppy works. You know, a nice $300,000 Italian sports car works. I
Well,
mean,
that could be on the
you could
date.
rent
I
it.
could rent that.
But yeah, I
The
mean, it should be all about like connecting with somebody and understanding how to do that. That's a big thing.
They asked the women what they're hired for, and he said they're hired to be a lot of wedding plus ones,
Hmm.
Christmas dinners, and here's an interesting
That's
one:
rough.
musicians hire them to make them cheer for them in the crowd at their concerts. What do
How
you think of
bad are these?
that?
How bad are these musicians?
I don't know. There are a few bad ones out there who could probably use,
Okay,
hey, I'm going to
because
hire 100 people.
I have several friends that are musicians, and groupies yelling in the audience is like the least of their worries. So, but they're actually pretty good musicians. So maybe that's why that's interesting. I mean, hey, if you could afford it to have like people that follow you around and scream when you play music, okay,
Go do
maybe
it.
maybe it'll get you more work. But I'm trying to figure out how that translates into any kind of. Maybe they don't want it to.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Maybe if the club owner goes, wow, he's really got a massive following. Those people really like him. We're going
That's
to
what
bring
I'm
him back.
thinking. Maybe like they're trying to get into those big venues and it's like think about how many of those you got to hire though, and how much money that's got to be. for one night. And it's not even all night, right? It's like 2 hours. They leave. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd hire for the night or
Like
for
how
by
most
hour. That could
musicians
be
are
expensive.
broke as hell too. I don't even know where they're getting that money from. Most
And
of
you
them.
got to pay for everything. So technically, if they
Yeah,
drink and eat and whatever, you're
yeah.
paying for that. So,
Uh,
ooh,
that's a rabbit hole for later. Now I'm gonna have to go look that up because I can't even imagine. That's got to put a guy in a poorhouse just trying to do that. I don't know.
oh yeah.
Anyway,
But
that's interesting.
the filmmaker came to the conclusion that it will give you more confidence, and it enables you to talk to someone. Someone again, they talked to another one of the women who does this, and she again, they keep bringing it up. No sex with the clients. They're not paying for that. They're
Right.
paying for the connection to learn. Again, I told you what they think.
Hmm.
Now, I think it's a great. When I brought this up on my podcast, there was pushback from someone thinking, I, as long as you know that you're paying them, then you're not developing a connection. And I
Right.
think they missed the point of having someone teaching you, having this is a conversation you want to have. If I had someone telling me, by the way, you talked the entire night, you didn't ask me about myself,
Right.
or you treated the wait staff rude, people don't like that. I mean, I think it's a wonderful thing,
I
especially if
do
you're
too.
rusty, just having a conversation with someone.
I come from a generation though where it's like it's so strange to me that these things are like not common sense. I'm just floored by the fact that some of these things that people are doing nowadays is like even happening. Like so I mean, and there are people who say, look, that speaks to your character. And if that's the way you are, then that's what you are. And I get it. I think that guys that are trying uh I think if you're a guy that's trying to be a better person,
Yeah,
I think guys are I don't want to say this in a bad way because some women are too, but mostly guys are very transactional. So they're like, all right, I put the coins in, I get this out. Like this
right.
is how this works. And so even in this scenario, like what is their goal? Like if the goal is just like, hey, I'm looking to get laid at some point, or I need to eventually find a girlfriend because that's the payoff for me.
Right.
It should be more like I'm trying to increase my social skill. I just want to be a better conversationalist.
I'm
I want
improving myself. What's
so you
wrong with
want to
that?
improve yourself without like a specific goal in mind because I know a lot of guys are like, listen, if I talk to a woman and I learn how to talk to a woman in public and there's no date at the end for me. I've actually heard guys say this to me several times. What's in it for me? Like
Whoa.
so if I talk to somebody and I don't get a phone number out of it, what's the point? And I'm kind of like, yeah, that's completely the wrong attitude. But
I
a lot
agree.
of guys are sort of figuring out um that there's a whole I don't know. I think I think it used to be that, and the thing about a guy picking a woman up and all that kind of stuff.
It's tough.
And again,
It's tough.
it's all based on a time where women didn't work, they didn't drive, they lived with their
Hmm.
parents. All this is why this if you're a woman and you're like, why aren't men, courting women anymore? Well, because they don't live with their parents anymore. They work, they have cars, they have houses. Like all the stuff that's going on now is why men used to come pick you up. And the pleasure of your company was like a specific, you knew her family. You would
Yeah.
go stand at the door. You probably give flowers to her mother. You would sit with her father, and her father would grill you for 15 minutes. All of this was like you wanted to get her out of the house and you wanted the parents to trust you. So you took her out to eat. You paid for her dinner. You brought her flowers because you wanted to make an impression mostly on her parents because they knew your parents. There's a whole thing going on years ago that
You were in
isn't
the Grange area.
yes. All that isn't happening these days. So that's why a lot of guys don't follow all that because like all that structure is not like in place anymore. Anyway, there has to be a
It's
reason for
still
guys
though,
to
it's
do that.
tough though, going up knowing that you're the one who you know, is going to be shot down, or
Right.
it's still rough out there.
I mean, but you're going see. So that to me, ego is a lot to do with it. You're going to be shot down because not everybody you like is going to like you back. Like I can't understand why anybody wouldn't understand that to begin with. So like, if you're gonna date, you have to be aware that somebody might not like you back. I mean, you can't be crushed over that because you're gonna not go far with that at all.
Well, then let
So
me ask you a question, and
yes,
hopefully Becky's still out there,
Becky.
or even Ron. You know what? We'll reverse the roles. It doesn't matter what gender the other person is.
You're gonna love this. I'm sure I know what you're gonna say. Go ahead. You go
Okay,
ahead.
let's see. If you meet someone
Yep.
and you make a connection with them,
Hmm.
and then you find out that, well, you had to have somebody teach you how to do this.
Hmm.
You know, the person before you had to teach you how to be a decent human being to me.
Right. Well,
How would you react now?
how would I react if the other person went through it, or if
Yeah,
I?
you meet someone and you make a connection with them.
Right.
And then he goes, yeah, you know what? I would have never have known how to treat you right if it hadn't been for my practice girlfriend.
I would clap.
Very
I
good.
mean,
Okay.
the bar is in hell right now, and I would a man attempting to claw even the beginnings of some type of self improvement would be a complete game changer. And that goes for therapy, guys. Please get a therapy. All of you, please get therapy, please,
Wait,
because
everyone needs it. It's not just guys.
right. But women are more. I mean, women are just more. They just go to therapists more often. I'm only saying that to guys because guys have this weird thing about how it's not manly or whatever it is. They tease
uh,
each other about it. So I
I don't
just
know if
think
that's still around, but
in my in New England it is. In my area, it's
okay.
very like, oh
Okay.
my God, you go into a therapist, what's wrong with you? I
New
mean,
York,
there's like a
everybody's in
stigma.
therapy.
Yeah, so you're in an area where it's like everybody, but in New England, it's a very big stigma for a man to be going to therapy and telling anybody about it. Like it's a big problem. But whereas women have always been going to therapy. So in at least in my area or in these other areas where like there's this machismo thing going on, like men need to drop that and they need to go to therapy because all of them have problems from their childhood. We all do,
Hmm.
and all of them need to sort it out. Because taking it out on every girlfriend you date is not the way to do it. Having every girlfriend talk you through your issues that you date is not the way to do it.
I
So
I would really love to. I mean, we're already late,
I know.
but there's like so many areas I want to go into on this conversation. We can't right
I'll
now, at least.
maybe I'll have you on my podcast because I've had this conversation with my podcast partners several times. We have a
Oh,
lot of podcasts about this.
let's do it.
Yeah, definitely.
According to Becky, I wouldn't be turned off. I like people who do personal development. And if
Yes.
you look at it that way, that's great. But I'm wondering how many people actually see it that way. Lena, you had mentioned your
Yes.
podcast. Why don't you give it a plug?
So my podcast is Love and Life with Lena and Dave. So my buddy Dave and I, we do podcasts talking mostly about social information and how life is and dating and relationships and stuff like that. And we apply logic. So it's called Love and Life with Lena and Dave, and it's just lenaanddave.com. Go there, you'll find everything.
I love that.
Yes.
For mine, my other podcast is called Circling the Drain Podcast. You
Mhm.
can check it out. It's just about comedy. It's trying to make you feel a little better about your life, forget about your problems for a little while, and maybe get a laugh. And look, apparently this is going to be my profile picture because it's still frozen on there.
Yes.
So
That looks like
let's use that.
it looks like you're in deep in thought and you're about to say something.
I
It's
all I
very,
can
very
think of
studious.
all I can think of is when is the equipment coming so I can, put up the backdrop and all that. But hey, time. It takes time.
It's okay.
Remember to go on all the socials for Going On Daily. And
Yes.
behalf of Lena and myself, I want to thank you for hanging out with us today. On Monday, he's already got it up. We're going to have Ron and Becky. They're going to give you some jokes, a little charm, and I'm sorry, there's probably going to be a Ron's top five of the
That's
top
like a
five
Ron and
trees in
Martin.
Redwood.
Is it Ron and Becky or Ron and Martin?
Oh, according to this, I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah,
so used to that. Becky's
I
not going to be
know.
there. It's Martin and Ron. Okay, you're still going to get the same charm jokes and
Yes.
again a Ron's top five. I know we said it
Absolutely.
before, but tomorrow, happy Mother's Day to all the women who take care of us. You don't have to be a mother,
Nope.
to be a mother figure to someone. So
Yep.
thank all of
Sure.
them in our lives. And remember, if you need some fun, join us because we've got it going on
We
daily.
do.
Night,
Yay.
folks.